So welcome, my fellow Shotokan karateka. Today I want to talk about hip vibration. Hip vibration is something that we hear all the time in karate, or your sensei may be telling you constantly, put your hips into it, use your hips more. It's all about the hips. And they talk about the hara, the tanden. And for a lot of people, these words mean nothing. How do I use the hips? What does it mean by the hips? And it's actually a misuse of the term. The techniques don't come from the hips, they come from the feet. And from the feet, they go up into the calves, and from the calves into the hamstrings, and from the hamstrings into the glutes or the butt, and from there into the lower spine, and then from there up to the thoracic spine, which goes to the shoulders, which gets delivered by the hands. As we are using our hips, we have to remember that the hips are an intermediate. They're power generation. So they are the most important piece, but they do nothing without starting at the feet. And so footwork is really the most important thing. Even if we're standing still, like I am right now, footwork is still the most important part of our karate, because it generates the power that goes up into the body, which gets delivered by the hands or by the feet or by the elbows. So we have to generate it from the feet up. And so when I'm coaching people, at first I try to avoid saying things like turn your hips, use your hips more, because it doesn't mean anything to them. They don't know what that means, and they start mimicking what I'm doing, and that creates really bad habits. So we don't want to get people to mimic us. We want to get people to do it right. And we'll see some coaching cues as we go throughout this short video. So I'm going to show this using two techniques, just urazuki, close punch, and chokuzuki, the straight punch, in the form of sanbonzuki, 3-time punching. And this is a drill you can use with your students over and over and over, or by yourself at home, to start developing that hip vibration and learn to use the floor as a start of your power generation and build it up through your body. So as we begin with the floor, the main cue I use is pull with your feet. And when I say pull with your feet, what I mean, if I turn this way, I'm trying to pull this way. Let's say with my right foot, if I'm going to punch with this hand, I'm pulling really hard on the floor in this direction. Except my foot is flat, my toes are pushing down. When you push down with your toes, do not curl them like this. Push straight down on the floor. That way you can grab the floor gently. If you were trying to grab the floor with your hands, you wouldn't do this. You would just push your fingers down really hard to get more traction. Same thing with the toes, just push down, not curled. So as you pull, again, if I'm pulling with the right leg, notice how it jerks me forward when I try to pull without letting my foot slide. So pulling this way. And I'm just using this hand as a visual cue of what's going on in my foot. So my foot is pulling back like this. And that is pulling my hip forward. If I do it on the other side, it's the same thing. From here, I pull with the left leg, and it jerks my body forward. As we pull with the feet, we're creating a linear action this way, going back and forth. That linear action comes up through the legs. We want to then be able to tense the calves, the hamstrings, the glutes, so that we get all the way tight. So if I'm pulling with this left leg this way, if I just pull with the foot and don't think about it, I can stay fairly relaxed in the body. But what I really want to do is pull hard with the foot and then tense these muscles all the way up to the glutes. So if I were to hit the glute really hard, I could withstand that. So if I'm pulling this way, it's like here. So this gets really tight. Now, if I pull one leg, it pulls this hip forward. So this glute is tight. I'm pulling this way on the floor. If I now pull with the other leg equally, notice what happens to the hip. They get pulled back together again. I am not lunging forward, so it's not 1, 2, this way. It's 1, then when I do the other side, 2. It just comes back to square. So this is what we're trying to do with the feet. Pull, pull. And so pull, pull, and you're back to square. If you do the other side, pull, pull, and you're back to square. The better you get at it, the more the energy will come up into the glutes. If you're working by yourself or you're coaching, just give the cue, pull with your feet. As they seem to get good at it, you'll notice the body movement. You don't need to tell them what's going to happen. Just say, pull really hard with your feet, like this, and you'll notice the hips start moving. That's when you know they're actually pulling. Then you'll get rid of that mimicking turn, which makes them stick their butt out and do this rather than this. So it gets sharper and sharper. Automatically over time, they'll probably start tightening the glutes more and more. But once you start seeing good movement, then start reminding them, pull with the hamstrings. So I'm not just going to pull back with my foot. I want to feel like I'm doing this as well. Then my hamstrings will engage. That will put pressure on the glutes. Once you can see that forward motion of the coccyx, the lower back, then you'll know that they're getting that hamstring really engaged. That's going to pull them down a little bit. And that's what we want, so that they don't rise up and down too much when they're in walking mode. So if I'm walking, it's the same thing. I'm going to pull with the foot, squeeze with the hamstrings this way. That's going to pull my body down a little as it pulls my knee forward. If I just pull with the foot without giving much thought to the hamstrings, so I'm only using the foot and the calves for the most part, I tend to go forward on the shoulders. But if I pull hard with the hamstrings and the foot, it tends to pull me down this way, almost like I'm being jerked out from under my stance, which I technically am. And that's how you'll know they're getting the hamstrings involved. At that point, you can then begin to talk more about the glutes. Tighten the glutes. Have them hit the glutes. If you have a good relationship with the student, you can hit them for them. So you can stand back here and give them a good whack in the butt as each side pulls. And that way you'll know that they're hitting it hard enough. Then they'll automatically tense. Now that takes that linear action and turns it into a circular action. So when I pull with this foot, that linear action becomes circular here. And then when I pull here, it becomes circular here. That circular action then gets shot up through the spine. And this is important, so pay attention. You have to have a braced lower body. If you're into weightlifting, you've heard of breathing and bracing. I'll put a link below for a good tutorial on breathing and bracing. But go on YouTube, look it up, breathing and bracing or crocodile breathing, and you'll find a lot of videos explaining how to do it. It's in weightlifting. It's the same thing in karate. It's all the same. It's just we all have the same body. So we need to be braced here. And this is another problem with most sensei. They say stupid things like tighten your hara, set your hara, work from the tanden. Nobody knows what that means. Those are mystery words. Quit saying that until they get used to it. Breathe and brace. People know what that means once you tell them quickly. It means I'm going to breathe out 360 degrees. So I'm trying to get big, not only here, but here and back here. Like a tire blowing up. I'm blowing up a tire, it blows up all the way around, not just on one side. So that's breathing and bracing, or crocodile breathing. It's called crocodile breathing for that reason, because it goes up all the way around. So they have to breathe out to get big all the way around, then tighten these muscles to lock the lower back into position. Now the lower back will not move. We never want to rotate at the lower back, the spine, or lumbar spine, because you're going to end up injured. So it has to be locked. If I lock it and then I pull, now I can't twist here at the lumbar area. So the energy instantly gets shot up to the thoracic spine, kind of even with the shoulders. And that sends that spiral energy into my shoulders. And now I can use it for a punch, which then turns it back into a linear strike. So it goes from linear to circular, back into linear. That is the whole process that we're trying to achieve here. But it's fraught with lots of problems. It takes a while to learn. So if you're learning it on your own, or you're coaching white belts, this could take easily 4 to 6 months for people to get it, depending on how athletic they are. If you're just learning about it as a brown belt or a black belt, then you can probably pick up on it much faster, because you're just beginning to understand what the hell is actually going on when you're using your hips. And as soon as you start doing it, you'll become much better at it. A key tip for people is get in the weight room, do deadlifts, kettlebell swings, do squats, things that require you to use your posterior chain, all these muscles in your back that make you strong. And then you'll elevate this movement much faster. So if we're going to practice this with Urozuki, close punch, what I do is I have students stand just in yoi, knees slightly bent, pushing down with the toes, hara set, or breathing embraced. Now we can begin to punch. We pull first with just one leg and let them just toss the arm. You've heard of the idea of throwing a punch. Well, we mean that literally. Relax the arm. And once you're breathing embraced in here, we have fairly relaxed legs, not completely, because you need a little tension to move. And then we pull hard with one leg and just throw the arm this way. Boom. Just like that. And just let them get used to throwing a punch. And then switch. Just like that. Over time, they'll get better and better at throwing a punch. You'll notice that upper body is really sloppy. Expect that. They haven't learned to control that circular conversion into the shoulders and then bring it back into a linear punch yet. So let a lot of sloppiness occur as long as they're getting this part right. Now, I leave this arm out when we're doing the Urozuki, like that. Because I notice if people pull it back, they end up twisting way too much. That puts a lot of torque on the knees and can create problems. So I just have them leave this arm out here while they throw that Urozuki this way. And that way they'll stay more square. And it brings them back to square a little bit quicker. Later when they learn to pull with the other leg, it's easier because we haven't got a bad habit built. So as they do get better at this, or as you get better at this, now we will go ahead and concentrate on pulling with one leg, the punching leg, and then pulling with the other leg. And how this works is you have to start slow. So I would tell people, just from yoi, pull, tense. Other side is kind of relaxed right now. Pull, tense, and relax. Other side, pull, pull, relax. Pull, pull, relax. Then just start speeding it up. Boom, boom. Then the other side, boom, boom. And go back and forth. 1, 2, 1, 2. Pulling the floor as hard as they can. That's the cue. And then as they get better and better at it, into the glutes. Now you'll start getting that hip vibration that they have mysteriously heard about. Now to build that into the punching, you can do the same thing with Urozuki, but now you do the pullback because you want to test if they're pulling with the other side. So it's going to boom, this way. So then the other side, and then this way. So you'll start seeing the boom movement of the hip as they get better and better at using both pulls of the feet. And then as they get better and better at that, pulls of the hamstring, pulls of the glute, staying breathed and braced, which is why you'll have to start speeding up the count sooner than you would like because they're going to be really, really sloppy. Again, that's okay. If you give too much rest between count, they'll relax the brace. Then this hard torque will end up in their lower spine, and you'll get students complaining of low back pain. So I like to warn them ahead of time. If you feel any low back pain, it's because you're not staying braced. And that's on you, not me. It's not the technique, it's how you're doing it that's causing you to get hurt. So we want to emphasize that ahead of time. So if they do go home that night and they feel some lower back pain, they'll know where it came from. Now, I like to let the upper body and lower body be a little disconnected for a while. And you'll notice the whip. Let me turn this way. And if I just throw a standard punch, I pull with this leg first. That's going to throw the punch. Then I reset with this one. That's going to square me back up. And I'm going to let the lag time between the lower body, the hips rotating, and the shoulders rotating occur. Because what you'll notice is I pull, notice the hips or the shoulders stay where they were, even though I'm already getting rotation. And the shoulders will then lag behind a second later, almost like you're wringing a towel. So let me exaggerate that even more. This way. This way. So you get that twirl coming up into the thoracic spine. Don't try to punch hard because that can lead to injury. But start nice and easy. And then 2. Hopefully I'm creating enough lag in my shoulders. You're seeing it. 3. And then this way. So I want to keep that lag. So it's this way. And then this way. So they can really feel the torque coming up the spine. Once they start tensing up a little bit better and getting control of that lag time will start going down. Then they won't feel it, and they may not know what's happening. So I prefer to let it occur so that they feel the whip coming into the thoracic spine, and like, wow, that's pretty cool, because I can actually feel myself being whipped into the punch. Their elbows will probably come out. Punches will look pretty awful. Don't care. Trying to get power here first. We'll clean it up as they get better and better at it. So then we can just do that chokuzuki where we pull and we punch. So it's pull, pull now, this way. Pull, pull, this way. So, like so. And as they get better and better at controlling that whip, then you can move on to the next exercise, which is sanbonzuki, 3-time punching. Now in sanbonzuki, you get to go back to being really sloppy and playing around with the whip. So if I pull with this leg and I keep this side relaxed, I kind of turn this direction. I'm going to let it go. I'll just punch in that direction. That way I get more whip in the shoulder. So if I try to exaggerate this a little bit more, so hopefully you can see my upper body lag behind the hips and twist it into this punch, giving me this diagonal punch. This side is tight. Now I'm going to relax this side and suddenly tense the other side by pulling on the floor. So you just tell them, relax this side, pull with this foot. And when I do, now I rotate in the other direction. Again, hopefully I was relaxed enough on top to create a lag you could see. Now this side is tight, this side is relaxed. I'm going to keep this side tight and tense the other side. I come back square, throw the third punch. Now you're ready to go the opposite direction. So pull, pull, pull. So it's going to be tight, relax, tight, relaxed, tight, tight, or pull, pull. Again, cue lower rank students with just pulling with the feet, not the muscles. As you get better and better, change the cue up. The reason we want to do that is external cues are something people can relate to. It's outside their body. Internal cues have something to do with the inside of the body, which muscles to move, or which angle to make the body. It was really hard for the brain to get a hold of. So external cues are better. So now we can just go 1, 2, 3. And we get our sanbonzuki. As you get better and better at whipping, start tightening that up a little bit. And that just means pulling faster with the feet. So 1, 2, 3. Like so. Then they get faster and faster. So they have to stay really tight here. The thoracic spine won't be as relaxed, so you get less whip, but you still get the same amount of torque transfer. But the fact they can't feel it doesn't matter because they know it's there. They felt it when they were staying relaxed. And the punch angles will get smaller and smaller. When I'm totally relaxed, here to here to here, as I get tenser, it'll get more this way. So then pull, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like so. And that vibration will then be able to pick up, and we'll be able to use it in our stepping.